Case Season 2, Episode 8, To Feel. To Feel. I've talked around it on earlier episodes, but I've never devoted an entire episode to it. I don't think. And To Feel, for a bass player, it's so effective. I start my new bass players on To Feel, and it gets them into the game immediately. And virtually all of the bass students in my studio are effective at To Feel. And, well, what is it? You know, if you're not used to what To Feel is, it's basically 2 half notes per measure. It's below the ceiling of walking, 4 quarter notes per measure. And I'm going to do all these examples over B-flat blues, but let me talk a little bit about it. You hear bass players playing To Feel all the time, particularly over jazz standards. That's the go-to rhythmic feel that you play when the soloist is playing the head or singing the head. You know, it brings it in. And then when it goes to solos, then you go to your walking, and then you've reached your ceiling pretty much. And I'm going to show you how effective To Feel is. Like I say, my students start off on that right off the bat if they can play in To Feel. Which walking is, it's somewhat more advanced, but To Feel is just, you can do, I'm going to show you how you can do To Feel with just roots. I'm going to show you how to do To Feel with root and fifth. I'm going to show you how to do To Feel with root and lower fifth. And I'm going to show you how to do a mix of those, and including a To Feel using what they call chromatic approach tones. So on number 1, I'm going to play To Feel over a B-flat blues, just half notes, right? And I'm just going to use roots. Here's number 1. Okay, and I've already loaded these videos on YouTube so you can check them out, and it's easy and it's good. With a good time feel, you'll keep the band moving. Sometimes we don't have a drummer in combo rehearsal, and the bass player is playing To Feel and roots, and that will keep things going very well. Okay, now this number 2 is roots and fifths. And roots and fifths is more typical of To Feel. You know, I use the repeated roots for my new inexperienced bass players, and that keeps it going. But this is, when we think about To Feel, it's just the root and the fifth playing. So root on the first half note, fifth on the second half note. And in this example, number 2, I'm going to play root and the upper fifth, or the high fifth. You know, the next string up for the fifth. So the second half note will be of a higher pitch. And you'll see this on the YouTube video. Okay, so here's number 2, roots and fifths, high fifths over B-flat blues. Okay, sweet. Roots and fifths will keep things moving. On number 3, I'm going to make it even somewhat simpler. I noticed this a couple of years ago when I was teaching this, is I'm going to play the root and the low fifth. In the root and low fifth, let's say you're playing a D on the D string, 5th fret. The low fifth is the A on the E string. So you're just moving your finger over. You're not even moving it over, you're just moving it up. And like I said, tactically, this makes things even easier. And you note on the video, I'm just using the same finger. Some guys use the second finger, first finger for the first note, second finger for the second note. You can do that. So right now you're going to get root and the lower fifth. Here's number 3. Okay. Now you can exchange those freely. Play some with the lower fifth, some with the higher fifth. Sometimes it makes it easier. If I'm playing a B flat blues, which I'm using, sometimes that playing the upper fifth on that first chord where I play that upper F leads me right on the same string to that E flat. So it has its own. The more that you do it, the more that you'll see that some make more sense than others, along with repeated roots. There's nothing wrong sometimes with playing the repeated root. Now on number 4, I'm going to mix it up with lower fifths, upper fifths, and repeated roots. So here's number 4. Okay, next on number 5, this next one, I'm going to use notes other than fifths. And like I was talking about, chromatic approach tones. So let's say to get to that E flat on the second bar of that B flat blues, on that first bar, the second half note, I'm going to play an open D to get to that E flat. It's nice. It's really effective on upright bass, but it works on electric too. To get to the B flat on the A string, I'm going to play that open A on the previous measure to jump into that B flat. I've also got an E going to F, the E on the D string going to the get to the F on the D string. It's just nice voice leading. Here's number 5. Okay, easy. Check out the video. Now notice on the video that my hand is staying close to the end of the neck, right by the headstock. You don't have to move around much. And this is highly effective for electric players, and it's super effective for double bass players. 2-feel is powerful. Like I said, it can keep a band going. Moreover, it's important to have 2-feel under your hands before you move to walking and floor. I started off walking before I got my 2-feel together, and it was somewhat tricky when I went from walking and then studying 2-feel. It didn't make any sense to me, and then it did. What's also a problem sometimes, and I've noticed this with all my players, is that they'll play in 2-feel for a couple courses and go to walking, and the walking will have a little skip to it because they're so used to playing those half notes that going to walking drops them. But that transition is something that you will get over relatively quickly. I've had those players walk nicely in 4, but having to play in 2 dropped them. So everybody walks in 2 for right now, or plays in 2. The key is to play a blues in 2 over multiple courses without dropping changes, and then move it over to other tunes, and then you will be ready to go to walking. If you have any questions, email me at phil@basscase.co. I'll talk to you soon.